Let's kickstart this one. As in the bottom left-hand side, our blue Protoss player. This is Neeb. And of course, this is best of 5 because we are now in the semi-finals. Yo, I just realized I don't have the ESL logo on. Oh my god, ESL, please don't shoot me. I'm so sorry, very innocent mistake. Neeb in the bottom left-hand side is our blue Protoss player as we enter this best of 5 with the red Zerg in the upper right-hand side being Reynor. So yeah, top 4 is $100, $150 second and $250 first. Obviously top 8 players we've left behind in the previous round take home $50. That's the prize cut for this $800 ESL Open Cup Europe every single Monday now. And of course the NA Cup, $800. Straight after this basically, starts up a couple hours after this ends usually. So yeah, some crazy stuff, guys. Lots of money on the line. Hell yeah to Shopify who helped support that. As we get this going, hatch gas and I guess a spawning pool in a moment as Reynor does take that forward hatchery because, well, Neeb used the probe to block it and block the natural and to force this hatch over there. That is a forward hatch on one of the smallest maps on the map pool, so you've always got to be a bit worried of Neeb as, what if he's just gonna, you know, all in me from there? Well, yeah, it is pretty much always going to be a possibility, right? So, definitely something to be at least a little bit concerned over. So next is built on the natural and the Cybernetics core coming up as well. Just going to see this Overlord of Reynor coming through to the front here and just having a little bit of a peek. See what exactly is happening. So no surprises about this. We're really waiting to see what Neeb's style is going to be. I know Neeb just played a bunch of games against Scarlet in the last couple of days, right? Or he played against Scarlet and... what else did he play against in PvZ? Well, he played Scarlet because they remember that stupidly long game and then they played Scarlet in the finals. So yeah, I know he's been playing a bit of PvZ against Scarlet. Apart from the super long game, I actually didn't get to catch the NA finals last night, so I'm a little bit unaware of exactly how Neeb was playing. So obviously, if there's something he does in this series that was from that series, then apologies in advance. I'll not be able to pick up on that or anything. I was just on a little bit too late for me. I wasn't quite around at that time. As we do see a couple lings making their way. We're into the natural expansion over here, actually, so gonna get through with those and straight on in to see what's up. That's actually pretty amazing. Reynor just straight through into the main, and you're gonna see a Twilight and a Robo as well, right? So it's not just like it's not like you're just like, oh my god, a Stargate. Well, you know, I figured. This is actually straight up something that's really good to scout because it's the sort of thing that you want to have a response to early, and you want to be able to adjust your build to early enough as well. So now you know there's going to be most likely glaives coming up. You can already start thinking about the timing changes you're going to make to your build because of that and all those kind of things just because of those lings getting in with this scout. So really great start here from Reynor just based on information alone as these couple of adepts, well, they do sneak through into this upper side. The ling's trying to get a bit of a wrap around, but we'll find no such luck. And of course our glaives and our 4 gates all setting up. We all know exactly where this is going. We've seen it 100 times before. Especially around this time last year, we were seeing it absolutely non-stop. This 4-gate glaives build. So away we go with that. Just couple of gates going to start morphing in as we have our Rotoron going to be finishing soon from Reynor. Really not messing around with that Rotoron either. It's going to be up way in advance, so he'll have roaches out for pretty much the first adept warp in, which isn't usually or always the case. So yeah, very quick Rotoron should really be able to nullify damage taken here. And he's going to start a couple of roaches now, so he didn't start his roaches as soon as the Rotoron finished. Now, supply blocked at the moment as well. Overlord just finished up now, but only 3 roaches on the way. Maybe there is some potential right now from Neeb. Now, this is going to be with 9 adepts moving on through. Shading up in toward that 3rd base mineral line. Gonna come in over here. Nope, just gonna cancel that up. Just gonna pull back a little bit for the moment and hold off for now. We'll see, wait for extra depths, and then we're gonna go for round 2 of this show. See if any differences can be made. See if anything different kind of comes around with this. That's already going to go shading forward up in toward the main base. Just going to make a play through here, and the Lings are going to get surrounded. I mean, he shades knowing those units are there, so he obviously wants to try and fight this. Maybe just feels like there's not enough roaches to justify not committing to the shade, right? Now you get rid of the Lings, you get rid of one of the more mobile units, defensively speaking here, so it's going to be a little harder to keep up with these Adepts, although the Queens and Roaches are splitting pretty well, and honestly, so far, Reynor's dealing with this like a bit of a boss, I think. He's really just handling this well. Not really seeing too many issues with this. I think that's very nicely done so far. Yeah, so actually, I mean, both players kind of played this well. I mean, 9 drones, but at the end of the day, you're kind of meant to take some damage to Adepts, right? Because they really are just going everywhere. And oh, the Prism goes down. That's massive because it's the end of the harassment, so there's actually not much to keep Reynor pinned back at home any longer. So that actually could be pretty influential for sure. Now, Neeb is starting to build those couple of Immortals, preparing for potential counterattacks that his opponent might throw his way. Just readying himself for that possibility. Now they're just building in the main. We do have our Overlord, sorry, not Overlord, Observer of Neeb also coming through. Over this right-hand side, it's just a little bit of scout information on top of everything else. Losing the Prism's a real shame because it's so powerful to just keep a couple of Adepts in a Prism. And to just every so often poke in with those couple of Adepts, couple drones go down, you get out alive. Very kind of cost-free damage that you can get done. So, yeah, real shame to be losing out on that and just missing out on that option. Basically now for the rest of the game, right? So, yeah, a little bit unfortunate there, but nothing to nothing to get ourselves too caught up on. Just maybe would have given Neeb a couple of extra options here. As it stands, he's still in an alright position, I'd say. I was a little afraid about the army supply initially. On this kind of work account, 3-base saturation, we are now seeing Reynor pump units, but his 4th base also wasn't ready yet, so maybe more so to do with that than anything else. Infestation Pit is going to begin to build. As our Stalker comes through, is able to take down Mr. Overlord there, so Overlord is taken down already. I'm just going to see Adept, Immortal, Stalker Sentry, picking up some rocks as Neeb just sits like comfortably on his 3rd base for the moment, so quite happy with this little position here. Let's see a couple of additional Stalkers continuing on through. These feelings still out over to that right-hand side. We do have everything else starting to make a bit of a push forward. So Neeb is coming forward. Remember, it's a shorter map, so these attacks arrive rather quickly once they leave the base. Although Neeb kind of tending towards the right side. There's no bases over here. That's kind of probably why Reynor takes this base up top. Make sure he takes a base that actually is a step away from the Protoss player more than anything else. It's actually just difficult to run by this base because the rocks on the left side here really deny this pathway for a long time in the game. And so if that pathway isn't open, how do you ever run by this base with Zealots? Well, you can obviously prism up from the top corner or so. He's going to know about that. He's got numerous Overlords in position here. So you'll know about that happening. And if you know about that happening, it shouldn't really be an issue, right? Yeah, where else can you come? From the middle of the map where the creep is and where the army's going to be positioned? It's just a difficult base to run by Zealots on. So it really does affect you in that regard as a Protoss. You can't slow down the Zerg in that position as much as you'd usually want to. Now, Reynor's still staying fairly aggressive with his units. Just, I mean, keeping them on the frontier, kind of fighting in and out of this acceleration zone. Wouldn't say anything too major. Obviously, with the Disruptors now up, you've always got to be that little bit more careful about exactly what's going on right now. Think of a few units just sneaking around the right-hand side. Just going to come around over here to see a little bit of what's going on. Couple corrosive biles landing down, Adept, Sentry, etc. A couple units just taking some biles, but nothing deadly at the end of the day. Not just yet, at least. Here we go. Ling Roach Ravager is going to continue on through. Full of biles, but I mean, going to get a cancel on the 4th base, perhaps? Nope, just the static defense that was building. Yeah, at the end of the day, Reynor's got Vipers on the way and a Lurk Den building. He's got a lot of money banked up, and that's to spend a little bit, further down the line from here, so not really too... not really expecting this to go too badly awry for Reynor anytime soon. I think the Disruptors is something he knows about and he will stay safe from. I just like what Reynor's setting up on. We'll see if Neeb's army is going to be able to compete with these Lurkers. And with the Vipers supporting as well, we know how powerful they can be. A couple of Abducts, etc. Can definitely become a big feature here. So, send this up. There go those Roaches. They're going to go running out down the bottom side. Ling Ravager Lurker wanting to make its own way forward for a moment or two, but it's going to get turned around itself. It's already going to start falling back. We do have the army in the bottom of the map also kind of coming around. Nice little Abduct there. And that's exactly what you want to be doing with these Vipers. Finding these Abducts and the shutdowns on those Disruptors, etc. The Disruptor shot comes through. A nice Abduct again. It's another Disruptor that gets shot down. So, Disruptor's being denied pretty aptly so far. Gotta give credit to Reynor. He's really nailing it with those Abducts. And the Vipers are staying very safe as well. That's a complete nonsense statement I just made. Vipers are staying very safe as well. They both just died. You know, I said it, I was like, what am I talking about? I double-checked. I'm like, yeah, I did see them die. Apologies, guys. It's a bad play call from me. Yeah, he loses both of them. But in fairness, he did at least get a couple Disruptors each. I'm trying to justify a bad statement. Disruptors, the Vipers were not safe. They were dead. Alright, well, Spire coming up and the Adaptive Talons coming through as well. So you're going to get those Lurkers able to burrow that a little bit faster here, there, and everywhere. And that's just going to give them a lot of mobility to respond to Neeb's army movements and to launch their own attacks very effectively as well. So I imagine we see a good amount of this in the near future as a couple Corrosive Bars launching. A couple units do back away pretty much immediately. And they do kind of get out of range as we're just going to be seeing Ling Hydra Ravager push back as well. Now these Stalkers coming in from the other side. These outs as well. All these Lurkers burrow up and a lot of Stalkers taking, oh my goodness, a ton of damage. Oh, disaster. That's so much damage being done. Jeez. Four Lurkers burrowing and the Vipers. Well, one of them gets to about half HP there. This time he does kind of protect them a bit better. Nope, nope. Don't just fly them forward just to prove me wrong, Reynor. Thank you. Pull them back. Keep them safe. These Lurkers here are actually just kind of picking off these Immortals that were going the long way around. And it's just the reinforcements on the way from Reynor that are going to be way too much. Neeb starts to build carriers. I feel like that's a very hopeful attempt of what you're going to move into there as a Disruptor gets shut down as well. Oh my god, and these Lurkers from behind, they already picked off a bunch of reinforcing Immortals, remember. Now they just pick off the Stalkers as they try to get away. Reynor has this game absolutely under control. GG's for game 1. And Reynor gets up a map. Game 2 of the best of 5. In the top right-hand side on Jagannatha is going to be a red Zerg player from Clash, Reynor. Taking on Blue Protoss in the bottom left-hand side of the map. Representing Ting, it is Neeb. Alright, well, game 2 of this best of 5. Getting this up and running. Excited to see how this is going to go. As we do just have a very similar start to the last game. Probe blocks the natural hatchery. Hatchery goes to the forward position. And we go on from there. How did the Hero Marine Lambo game 1 end, by the way, guys? I know it's over. I know that deep into game 2 now. Hero Marine 1, it did look... Yeah, it did actually look pretty good for Hero Marine. Like, it started going Hero Marine's favor for sure. The last few moments I was watching of it, just because it felt like Lambo was... The problem with Oxide, they were playing on Oxide, and the reason it's a good map for Terran is if it gets to that situation, you have an even amount of bases very quickly. And if the Terran just doesn't get denied a base, the Zerg will just lose on efficiency a lot of the time, so... Yeah. Sorry, I know that's not really anything to do with this game or this series, but I know that a lot of people kind of keeping an eye on that game because it was a very long one. It was pretty interesting. Hey, Poison, thank you so much for the sub, fresh and new. I really appreciate it. Welcome. Thank you so very much. Is that sub 800? I think it is. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Use your prime to help this rhyme. I promise it's worth your time. Gotta get creative with the sellouts nowadays, you know. Stargate's gonna rally onto this Ovi pretty much immediately, obviously a step away from the Twilight opener. I'm happy for this, just for the fact that I kind of like watching Neeb play Stargate. I think it's always pretty exciting. I think he really had a lot of prowess with the later game Stargate setups that some of the other players just don't quite match. He really does, like, he's really a specialist in it, you know? He really is. Well, as we get set up here, I'm watching this Overlord fly around, because at one point there was a Stargate rallied onto it, but it's obviously long gone from there now. Probably should have been following this adept, but on fairness, guys, it really didn't get up to much anyways. Nothing has died. We just kind of build up the 3 bases here to get us started on Jagannatha in our Protoss versus Zerg. I wonder actually what the map picks were. Who picks Jagger? Who picks, I think the Zerg picks Beckett and then Neeb picks Jagger. I think Reynor picks Beckett, Neeb picks Jagannatha. I don't know what map 3 is, though. That would be my initial guess. This map is, it depends. I mean, I'm surprised Romanticide wouldn't be the first pick, but maybe Romanticide was vetoed. I'd be kind of surprised if it was vetoed. Maybe Reynor just says, nah, I don't want to play Romanticide against Neeb, who's really good at playing, you know, super long games or something. So, yeah, there's definitely an aspect of that involved, that's for sure. I always, a couple years back when Reynor was still somewhat on the rise, you know, I always thought that, Reynor and Neeb games were some of the very best, and they played some really entertaining matches, and I think it was at Valencia 2018, I was watching them both play, like, a ladder game against each other, and they were kind of just sat on, like, opposite sides of, you know, the bench or the desk with PCs on it and stuff, so, or the row, they were sound like opposite rows, which have the, you know, you have rows of PCs at DreamHack for people to play on, in the tournament. They were just kind of sat there practicing laddering, they kind of man each other, and they just play this, like, ridiculous, like, 28-minute game, and it's one of those games, if it was happening on stream, we'd be like, oh my god, guys, we are blessed today, that's the game of the day. They're just casually playing it on the ladder, and, like, where everyone's, like, crowded around watching them, and, I don't know, like, to me, that Reynor Neeb PVZ always used to look like that. It hasn't looked like that in a little while. Just because Reynor kind of got so good, and the meta kind of shifted a little bit as well, but I always think of, I always have fond memories of these two playing against each other, and specifically, I think that, in particular, was, for me, always very interesting to kind of think back to. This is a fleet beacon, and this is Tempest production, which is really fun. Now, Neeb, I believe, said in his interview the other day, said he saw Tempest into Flux Veins as a build that MaxPax used against a laser, and he was very excited to try it out himself, so we'll see if he actually wants to go for the Flux Veins here as well. And if he does want to try it out, usually you do this on 2,000 atmospheres, bit of a larger map, so you're safer from counterattacks, and a little bit more space over here, like dead space to sit the Tempest in. So that's why it's usually used on 2,000, but using on this map, switch it up a little bit. Reynor is playing a Lings with melee upgrade style, that's going to make it really tough to hold onto this base over here, so let's see if it can work out. There's the Flux Vein, so yeah, it looks like Neeb is going to apply what he was seeing from MaxPax in this game, but yeah, these Lings are going to create some serious issues right from the start. Problem is, even the Tempest doesn't do well, and now he miscontrols the first Tempest as well. That goes way further forward than it's meant to, takes way more damage. This one took a beating as well. Oh my goodness, Reynor is like more than just prepared for this. This is absolutely crazy how hard he's going to shut this down. Like, there's just absolutely no chance. Oh, I mean, it's just over already, right? These Tempests, okay, they're not dead. They're still around, but everything's just set up so well. It's going to be really minimal amounts of damage done. That's not good. You can't just go losing the Tempest, right? I mean, that's just not a thing. It just really isn't. That just is not a thing. As these few Void Rays come through, they're going to zap away at those Zerglings, push them off to the right-hand side. A couple of additional Stargates building up from Neeb as well in the main. And we continue through to what will be a mass of Void Rays with a cannon support system down on the ground. Now, Reynor's infestation pit, he is stacking up a good amount of gas. Are we thinking potentially? No. Are we thinking potentially Swarm Horse? No, he's going to build a Hydra Den, then he's going to build a Hive, and I guess he'll find other places to spend that gas as well. So he is just going to play in toward the Lurkers. I just don't think you could play Swarm Host from here anyway, right? There's so many Void Rays. Does that make any amount of sense? I mean, I don't think it does, but, you know, sometimes things make sense when they really shouldn't, so who am I to really speak? Some Void Rays coming around over on the far right. This Tempest is still being poking and prodding, and it's picked up 4 kills in total now, but is very low on HP. Now, look at some of the damage you have done with these Tempests. You've forced a lot of these Spore Crawlers out, so that is damage done. I mean, so that's something, but then you look at Reynor on 90 drones anyway, and you're like, oh, it's not slowed him down that much. And, of course, why should it have slowed him down? You know, when you look at where Reynor's at in this game, like, why would he be slowed down in the slightest? You know, this game has been very comfortable for him. You know, he did defend the Tempest. He killed one of them. These Void Rays especially have never been able to be that aggressive. And he's had a good time with the Lings across the map as well, which he's going to start having once again as, I mean, Neeb is just on the way to carrier production, but Reynor's well on the way to deal with this double Spire, Lurker Den. And he's going to have an answer in, you know, he's going to have a strong ground army. He's going to have the answer of being able to go into Corruptors if he wants against those carriers, as when he gets 4 probes over here with these Banelings, but they were slow Banes, no Bane speed. With Bane speed, that might have been a lot more damage. Kind of surprised he didn't stick around the extra 20 seconds for Bane speed to be done. Flings around and a couple of Adepts going down, but there's the carriers, and that's where Reynor says, well, can't really fight against those just yet with what I'm working with, so just gonna pull it back a little bit. 6 probes go down, though, and again, just a bit of a check from Reynor, just see, okay, what you got. That's the thing with these Ling attacks. Every single time you attack with the Ling, it's not just like, oh, I'm getting a couple probes. You're straight up picking up really important information in the game, right? You're getting info that's like, oh, you know, I'm in this kind of position right now. Oh, you're in this position. And it really lets Reynor adjust to what he wants to do next. Do I need to already start thinking about Corruptors? Do I need to start thinking about more Hydras? Do I want to do more Lingbane run-bys, you know? Those are all decisions you can make based on these scouts that he gets via the Zerglings testing the waters, moving forward a bit and, you know, again, checking to see just what exactly is up and what's going on. A whole bunch of additional Corruptors still on the way from Reynor then, as we do have Queens going to collect over on the right-hand side. We do have carriers from Neeb as well, kind of poking and prodding forward a little bit. And our Void Rays of Neeb also sitting overhead on this forward base, ready to join the party. Lingbane Hydra joins up, sitting in the acceleration zone. We are going to get a hatchery to the upper left-hand side. A couple of extractors will drop down. The carriers and voids continue to join up together, so everything collecting up. We do have these few Void Rays around the bottom right-hand side from Neeb. They're going to try and figure out what they want to do. Looks like they're going to come join up with everything else flying over this set of rocks. So, over a set of rocks, a couple of these spores already being shot down. Going to go for another one. Some multiple spores going down already and making our way to the upper right. We'll abduct in on the carrier, and the first carrier goes down. Voiders are going to activate. Oh, he's actually going to have a pretty good start to this push. Is there enough anti-air, I suppose the question is. All these Voiders are definitely providing a great buffer. 22 probes just went down over here, by the way, as well. I saw that being run by coming, but wanted to see if these Voiders are just going to keep on melting everything in their path, and the answer so far is absolutely yes, they will. Obviously, this is kind of just the +2 attack and go timing, right? You get the +2 air weapons, and you just go, and you don't look back. Oh, my base? Oh, 22 probes going down? I don't care, because I'm killing you with everything I've got. And it looks like it's going to work out here from Neeb. Reynor just does not get the Corruptors up in time to deal with this. He was not prepared well enough for this attack. And, well, we move on through with all of these drones going to get zapped down. And Neeb is actually just going to come through this. And, I mean, just had an unkillable army. Preparation air army from Reynor was not strong enough going into this fight. So, yeah, just... I kind of believe with the Lings moving in and scouting a little bit that he was just going to have an answer when this army moved across. But I guess the reality is he just, you know, I kind of put my belief in Reynor and he failed me. I mean, what did he really have even when this fight started, right? Like, he was starting to build spores, but he just didn't have enough. Now the corrupted count gets a bit better, but when there's this many voids and they have that flux veins, there was never really kind of a set of units to fight off the voids. You know, he only ever made, what, like 8 Hydras, and most of them were lurkers? So, and the corrupted count never really got to be like that kind of higher one-shot potential setup either, so yeah, I just really didn't have an air army to really deal with this at all. That's kind of wild. We're going to turn back around, and Vipers are going to drop some parasitic bombs in. The voids are going to have to go splitting apart. And, I mean, the parasitic bombs are decent, and they do obviously put a good bit of damage out, but guys, the damage here is already done. And this is going to be seeing 7 voids producing at a time as well, and when it's against these corruptors, they absolutely will just get the job done. They really do just laser those down so quickly as we push through. And yeah, Neeb got to the critical mass of air units. You all know how powerful that can be. Game is called. I just want to rewind. What actually was there for Reynor at the start of this fight? Like, if we go back to like 11 minutes, I think that's when Neeb starts moving out. Like, it's just kind of crazy how little Reynor really has ready to go. 10 Corruptors and 3 Vipers, and he's on like 97 drones. Now, that might not be so bad if more of these spores are ready. Like, this is the moment we start fighting. There's no ground army from Neeb, so these lurkers are completely inane. They do nothing at all. And then it's just 12 Corruptors and 3 Vipers. There's just nothing here. I actually didn't realize how little there was in the sky for Reynor. He did not have an answer. Bottom left-hand side. That Blue Protoss able to tie this series up 1-1. The Sky Army getting it done. It is Neeb. And in the top right, our red Zerg is Reynor. Yeah, I do wonder, what did he see to make the lurkers then? Like, did he see something to think, oh, I need lurkers here? Because when you think about it, there was just never a ground army from Several on the Mind, from Neeb. You know, he went into 2 Stargates to start, then he added the 2 extra. He only ever added the Forge on for cannons. Like, it was quite apparent from early on there was never really a ground army. So then why would you ever build the lurkers? What do they ever really achieve? Not that I think those 6 lurkers being Hydras maybe would have made the difference, but it's part of the problem, right? You know, it's part of the issue. So yeah, maybe Reynor wasn't fully aware of exactly what was going on and what was happening. Reynor upper right, Neeb lower left, hatch gas and pool. Getting ready to go. So going to game number 3. And we get this settled down. So yeah, kind of intrigued to see what Neeb brings this time around. Oxide? Well, a lot of things are possible on Oxide. Had to make a prediction. I'm going to say Stargate into, maybe even into Glaives. Stargate into Glaives was always popular on this map, and if Neeb's showing us a bit of Stargate and he's showing us a bit of Glaives, why not just crack them together? Get the Star Glaives going. I'm not calling it Star Glaives forever, have I? Star Glaives coming to get you. Yeah, why not see a bit of Star Glaives here? I think that'd be pretty fun. At the same time, Neeb is really capable of playing so many different styles off that Stargate opening, right? There's so many different ways in which you can really kind of come through and say, oh, right, well, you know, in this situation, you know, he can play a triple Oracle. He can play, I don't know if triple Oracle is good for this map because of Queen Walks, but, you know, he has those different styles of play. He could even play something double Stargate focused that isn't that Fleet Beacon opening. That's the scary part of Neeb. He has so many of those builds in his arsenal. We start off with the Stargate, though. Let's see where we go. What was Reynor thinking about when he built the Lurkers, zoning out Templars and Archons? I think he just assumed there was eventually going to be like a ground army and like a Templar switch. And it was almost like a preparation for that, and that just never came. And I guess that's kind of difficult to know for sure it's never coming. If he ever got a scout into the main and he saw 6 Stargates, or 7 or 8 Stargates, or however many was at the end, maybe he would have been like, oh yeah, very unlikely, but Yeah, this really was just like an air army that was just purely an air army and nothing else, so kind of needed just a little bit buffier kind of anti to begin with. We're going to be seeing Depth moving around a little bit. Link speed coming up. Couple queens on the way out. Spore crawlers on the way up. The one in the main base just now starting. So just getting prepped for this initial oracle. And an oracle it is to begin with. And follow up non-existent just this far. Kind of feels like you would queue up another Stargate unit by now usually. But we're waiting. And waiting and waiting. Oracle hits the natural where we'll find a couple drones. Very nearly a third, but not quite. Gonna be a fleet beacon and a second Stargate, so a bit of a different way of going into it, right? From the Void Raid last time to this time just a single Oracle. I wonder if we're gonna go Tempest again. This map to me, I mean, similar to Jagannath, a little bit of dead air space here to poke the main. A little bit of dead air space here to maybe work onto the natural, but you've got to go around the third. A little bit of dead air space here. Not ideal. It ain't no 2000 atmospheres, so the other option here is that he maybe goes carriers off double Stargate. That was kind of the more original OG way of doing this kind of early Fleet Beacon 2 Stargate start before Max Packs / Parting revolutionized with the double Tempest. So maybe that, unless he really just likes the Tempest. No, he doesn't. He likes the carriers. I was going to say, to me, if you go Tempest again after the last time, you got to be really confident in the build because, like, yes, he won that game, but the setup off the Tempest was horrendous. Like, he lost one Tempest, the other one did minimal damage, was low HP from the start. Yeah, it forced a reaction, but Reynor was just so well prepared for it. I would have been shocked to see Neeb try it again here on a map that is probably even worse for it once again. So carriers make a little bit more sense. I always like to refer to these double carrier openings as like a... Imagine it's like a BC opening in TVZ, because to me, this is almost like you go out on the map, the carriers get a bit harassed, they get in trouble, boom, they teleport home via recall, and it's just kind of like a high-tech way of harassing early. And what it gives you is it gives you those carriers all game long, and it gives you that kind of transition to Skytoss already there, and typically you then build the ground army off of this, but what it really does is it eases you into the Skytoss transition later. You already have the fleet beacons, you're already at the first couple of carriers, so it kind of eases you into the Skytoss transition if you get through the mid-game successfully. Now, he's going to go for 2 more carriers. That's not too weird. What I'm really interested in is if he cuts after 4 or if he's going to keep going. That's the point at which you probably would start to transition into a ground army versus commit fully into air units. So we're going to find out here fairly soon what exactly Neeb's plan will be as Reynor catches on, and he's already starting up the Spire. So he will have a Spire on the way. Corruptors quickly are... well, the go-to to really shut down carriers properly is that first carrier is going to launch interceptors at this Overlord. No transfusion to save it. The high-energy queen in trouble. Now, there's a lot of queens, but there's not a lot of energy on those queens. This queen goes down. Without transfusions, you'd be surprised at, how many queens will actually get killed here. Usually not really used to seeing these queens actually die because, well, transfusions keep them alive a long time, but in this case, not so much. As the interceptor count goes down, you back it up a little bit. There's the Twilight and there's the +1. So there's our grand transition coming through. This should be the end of the carrier production for the moment. Like I say, from here you can kind of play into charge. You can get the Temple Archives and the Storm. And like I say, from there you can just start building carriers again if you want to. If the opportunity is there, boom, you just crack on with it. You just get going once again, Here on the carriers, they're going to make their way through the right-hand side up into the main base, where they're going to be able to launch their interceptors through and out a couple of these drones. First couple of drones going down, going to turn onto this queen in the main. Queen taking a good amount of damage. I'm just going to pull it back down the right-hand side. So a couple of drones going down. I'm just going to be able to pull away a little bit. Again, Corruptors on the way. You expect that to be the response to these carriers, and hence Void Ray production becomes a standard as well. Like I say, I do expect to see Storm off this Temple Archives. We're still seeing the ground army, but I like that he's actually building the Void Rays, because I haven't seen the Spire. It's definitely a given that Corruptors are coming through. There's the recall. Is it in time? Yes, it is. Those carriers get it home without being in trouble. One of them low HP, so that's something to keep in mind. It might be an easy snipe a little bit later down, further down the line. But for the moment, They are A-OK and alive, and now a Robo Bay. Oh. Okay, a little interesting, a little different from what I expected. Now, we have had Temple Archives, but nothing from it. No Archons, no Storm upgrade starting. The Robo Bay suggests probably Disruptors. I mean, obviously, Colossi would not really make sense. Make Colossi when your opponent's already making Corruptors, but Disruptors will do a lot to dissuade the Roach Army on the ground, so maybe that's just what Neeb feels he needs. He goes up toward the 4th base now as well, setting that up over on the left-hand side. I kind of like it. A few Zealots and a couple High Templar warping in. They're going to morph into an Archon here. And Reynor is setting up for an attack. And I think that's maybe why we look at Disruptors here. It's going to build a bit faster than Storm, so you just get Archons up at the High Templar and you can get the Disruptors started ASAP. I feel like you should start to build those Disruptors, though, if you're going to do it. I mean, right now it feels like Neeb's invested into a lot of different things, and none of them are really ready. He doesn't know about this attack, right? Like, he just, okay, sees it now with the Zealots. So now at least you know where this attack is coming in from. He's going to launch other Zealots up the left-hand side. Counterattack's never a bad thing in these scenarios. It's going to pull units away. And usually more units, you have to go and respond to it than are necessary just to make sure it's a clean cleanup. So generally allows you to trade well, and well, Carrier's fighting here right away, but plenty of transfusions. And the problem with fighting over this set of rocks is that stuff like the Archons can't really get involved because, well, they can't jump over the rocks and then jump back safely, right? The Zealots on both sides got shut down, so run by is unsuccessful for Neeb. And it's time to get defensive as Reynor comes pushing through with this mass Queen Walk. Well, Interceptor. Carriers are full of Interceptors again. We're going to get a jump on some of these Queens, which is great, but you're going to need an answer to those Corruptors as well. They're going to be some of the beefier units which will work their way through these Carriers. Dodging back from a couple Corrosive Bars. We're running out of Interceptors, and as the Interceptor count goes down, I'm already a bit concerned that we really do just get to this stage where it just becomes so difficult to really start dealing with these Queens. Now, a 4th base has already been ransacked as well, so it looks like Neeb at the very least will lose this. He does counterattack a second time around. This time might have more success with that round of Zealots. The biggest issue, truly, is he just doesn't have time to rebuild the Interceptors. If these carriers were full of Interceptors again, we'd probably not feel so bad for him right now. We probably feel like there's a pretty good chance of getting something good done. In the meantime, these Corruptors have gone into the main base, caustic spraying down Stargates. Obviously, very important pickoffs there. Looks as though these Zealots really did do a great job here, but I mean, it just looks as though this attack of Reynor is truly somewhat unstoppable at the moment. He's going to start working his way elsewhere with these carriers. I think really is just trying to buy the time to get Interceptors back. Will it be enough in time? Only 7 Void Rays here as well. We're going to have to rebuild all of these Stargates. There's just so much rebuilding to be done from Neeb, and obviously the situation is only seemingly getting worse. Here we go, we're going to fight in again. The Interceptors aren't even all ready to go. It's, I think, a fairly hopeless affair as the Queens, the Ravagers, the Corruptors look like they're going to stand strong in this one and put Reynor up into the lead of the series. The Voiders are going to activate that Prismatic. The Corruptors will give it a moment and back off momentarily, but more Roaches and Queens on production, even a round of drones. Reynor was never on a super high drone count. I think 65 when this attack happened, and that was really about it. So do you see everything else pulling back just a little bit again? Bottom right next is going to be taken, and that is something that Neeb can maybe fall back to as like a real backup plan here, or a Hail Mary save me play. But it's well, it definitely shouldn't be his go-to. Right? It's definitely not ideal. It very much is a maybe somehow if I survive situation. Hydra down on the way up as well right now. Looks as though Reynor wants to build some Hydras. I mean, sure, I get it. Hydras are decent here. Honestly, so would be another like 10 Corruptors and just kind of flying in and just one-shot unit, fly out, in, one-shot out. And we see that a fair amount, right? Or maybe even just a couple. He doesn't have a Hive. I was going to say a couple Vipers, but yeah, I guess no Hive with the setup that we've had. So that makes sense. Yeah, there's 10 more Corruptors right now, so he kind of agrees. Would rather have the Corruptors than the Hydralisks. Chorus of Baals are going to land, and usually we get excited about that, but I think Neeb is already well aware that this game has fallen very far from him outside of his grasp, and he will type GG to give Reynor game 3. And Reynor goes into the lead of the series with match point on his game number 4, and Reynor has been, well, stepping up a little bit in that last game. Not really letting Neeb get to the point he wanted to be at. Italian kid, Reynor's bottom right. strong American pros. And the bottom left is, of course, Neeb. And we go to Blackburn for a fourth map here. This map, I really felt like for a long time was going to be the Queen Walk map, just because it's like, well, you walk down here, you push through here, and you're at the bases. But actually, if you end up expanding back here, it'll be a little more complicated. Obviously, if you get here, it's still annoying for the Protoss, because they got to defend this attack and this attack, and you've got to have that kind of split map position. You kind of naturally get here as a Zerg. Reynor doesn't want to let this be anything like that anyway, though. He's going to play this a bit wild and wacky. A gold base to start. And this drone is looking as though it's going to go for a hatch block on the natural of Neeb as well. So, just gets blocked though. Nice, but he gets it down. And that still blocks it, I think. Yeah, that's massive. So it's a hatch block from Reynor while also going for the gold. And that is a really big deal because now he's going to have a pretty good economy up on the top side. So yeah, that's just going to be, that's definitely a big plus, I'd say. Definitely think he's going to be pretty happy with the setup that he has. Actually cancels this hatchery and starts up his pool a little bit faster with it, I believe. I think that's where the money went to, or maybe he has other intentions. He's going to take the other gold base. I kind of thought he might be doing this initially in the first place, actually. I thought he might be kind of, take the, go from here and kind of take the gold, go around and take the gold, but he's going to end up with both the gold bases. So Reynor going to make this a little bit funky here on Blackburn. Taking those golds. I like it. I think it's very fun, actually. There's a couple of drones coming through from Reynor. Just going to be seeing our spawning pool about to finish up. First adept from Neeb. It'll start to make its way onto the map, going through the center. So moving on over to the far right-hand side. Stargate building up from Neeb as well, getting that going. Another adept on the way too. Just going to be seeing this adept sitting behind the gold mineral line. I see a couple of people asking about Zest Hero Marine. I believe it's 0-0. I think they that Hero Marine had a crash or a disconnect, and so they're currently rehosting the game. So yeah, I think that's currently being sorted out and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's 0-0. I already didn't have his correct UI set for replays, so he doesn't have a scoreboard. Old school casting. All right, Oracle is coming out here from the main base. You see the Overlord of Reynor gonna go for a little bit of a poke and a prod into the main as well. Yeah, plenty of lings. Gonna have ling speed soon. As Neeb finds one drone with the adept. It's 3 kills in total with his adept. It's now gonna be 4 as it takes its third Zergling of the game down. Let's just see our adept moving through this bottom side. It's out through the south. Just going to be seeing Oracle moving through the bottom as well. Going to move across through this bottom side. And then Void Ray of Neeb is going to rally out straight onto this Overlord. So Overlord is going to be the target right here. I mean, obviously, this becomes really interesting because with the double gold base, Reynor has a lot of economy off of a low drone count. You look at 29 drones, you think, oh, that's not great, but while it's obviously still in Neeb's favor, it's not super crazy. And does Neeb just not... I mean, Neeb knows because of this creep here, but does he not otherwise really know about the... I mean, he kind of knows there's no hatch here, though. I'm really interested as to why Neeb's taking a Nexus here. I mean, to me, double gold base is actually, like, usually going to lead into an attack, so I'm not sure why Neeb feels the need to go to the third base. I really have no clue. This Oracle's busying itself with the Queen, but reality is, I think you actually need to come and stop these Lings from doing anything extra. Yeah, it's a little bit tough. This is a really crazy one, isn't it? Ling's going to get surround, going to grab this Adept, so another Adept will fall. And these couple of Queens still just pushing in towards this Nexus. That's a cancel. See, I don't mind that, though. I mean, I feel like you're allowed to cancel the Nexus in this scenario. I just find it crazy he was going to a Nexus anyway. He really must have just missed this, and then... But I thought he had, like, an Adept here, right? So you still no hatchery. So either way, what are you assuming is happening? That means that you can take the... you take a third base. That's what I'm really intrigued about. Unless he really just thinks he can maybe, possibly... take it and then do something, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just not really sure, actually. Yeah. Kind of funky anyways. Gate's going up still. Warp Prism is coming through too. We do have a Stasis Ward or was in production somewhere. I've completely lost track of where that. I was trying to click on it and it disappeared. So maybe across the map somewhere. Where's the Oracle at, I suppose? Yeah? Okay. He was trying to Stasis this, but the Queen's killed it. Ah, well. This has really been a bit of a fiasco, hasn't it? This really has been a bit of a fiasco. It's going to get weird for Neeb. I mean, I understand maybe taking the third because you want to try and stop the third base from going up in general, like, because you don't want your third base to be halted later. And if you believe you can hold it, maybe then you believe you can hold it, and maybe then it's not a crazy idea, but yeah, now these Lings coming in for a surround. Obviously, Stalkers can be microed back via the Prism. The Sentries were the first to be saved. Obviously, there's only so many force fields available, and this just was not a good fight for Neeb, right? Army supply, yeah, absolutely drops off from Neeb. Stays solid for Reynor. Thing is, Reynor, I see a lot of people discussing this double gold and having like insane macro off it, and that's true. But Reynor never went to like an insane work account right away, right? And that's why it was kind of aggressive. Like, it really sits in the middle. I think the biggest thing about these kind of builds is that it's really hard for the Protoss to judge where their opponent's at, because you know, you never quite know. Is he really going to saturate that base? Is he actually going to utilize it well? Is he just using it for reinforcements? You know, it's really hard to judge, and to have the practice to know kind of the economy position you're in versus them can make it really hard to judge the positions in the game, and maybe that's just what Neeb struggled with a little bit here, is right now, I mean, this army of Reynor continues to do pretty well. These Queens are coming in for the flank as well. Is there a recall potential here from Neeb as he's trying to kite back around the right side? Probably just get a transfusion, and it's just these Lings that keep on streaming through. Reynor has way too much. Let's just take a quick rewind, guys. You know what? We're winning this game. Let's just have a look at Neeb's point of view. I just really want to think what he's looking at when he takes the third base, right? Like, okay, you see the gold, you harass the gold, you're moving down here. You come up here. Like, right now, he sees no natural hatchery, and to me, I feel like he must think, oh, that's weird. What else is he looking at? Oracle's on the way. Does he just assume the hatchery's going to come up soon, and maybe it's just delayed because of the third hatch initially? I think it must be, right? I think he just thinks that he sees these things. Yeah, I think he just thinks like, oh well, maybe it's just delayed from early. But now the Oracle sees it again, and that's when he comes out to build the third base. That's so interesting. But I feel like he doesn't know about the gold, because otherwise he would have done something more about this, because there's just been drones there with one queen there this whole time. Really, really interesting series. Reynor does take it 3-1.